Okay, so thank you all for joining us on this session that's going to last for approximately 20 minutes. Now, there's a chat on the side, and we'll keep that open for a little longer, so feel free to ask questions and we'll get back to you later. So my name is Lodgaard, and I'm head of products and brands at Flokk. So that's your designer, engineering, marketing, and sustainability efforts across all the brands of the company. My background is from design engineering. I spent about 10 years in the automotive industry before moving to furnitures and to this company in 2007. Throughout that career, responsible industry and sustainable design has been a red thread of motivation for me. So that's still me. In this session, I'll build on the first one on design for sustainability. I'll talk about the concepts of degrowth and how we can make it happen together if we embrace the imperfect. I will recap the former one briefly, but if you didn't see it, make sure you do. So in the last session, we shared this reflection, how this pandemic shakes our sense of security, makes us somehow more human and aware of what really matters. And we spoke about the big issues of our time, the ones that we need to resolve somehow. And we spoke at length about this, how we all can go at the sustainability challenge on our own by using circular design criteria, and through that achieve significant improvements on global warming, on resource consumption and health. And we can all do that as designers, architects, or industry leaders individually. But this time we'll cover a topic that we need to attack together. So we will do our part in Flokk, but you need to do too, as specifiers, architects, or industry peers. So that's enough of introduction, enough of me. What I want to cover today, as I said, the concept of degrowth. Now, this term is often seen as controversial, and we want to add some resolution to that picture. Just very briefly, what are the pitfalls of degrowth, and how can we circumnavigate those? Then I will talk about iconic designs, what they can and can't do for sustainability and degrowth. I will talk about control and precision as ideals, as aesthetic ideals in design and architecture, and the alternative, the aesthetics of imperfection. And finally, my aim of this talk is to leave us all with some kind of direction of how we can realize degrowth if we go at this together. Because as I said already, we can't do it alone, but if we collaborate on this one, we can achieve some great stuff together. So the reason why degrowth is controversial is obvious, and that is because it's so often linked to economic decline, and that is problematic. I mean, the world needs renewable energy, we need clean transportation, we need healthcare for all, education and food for all, we need to tackle famine and refugee crisis, and right now we need to tackle even a pandemic, and we need a vaccine for it. And we could go on with these purposes forever, but the point is, the solutions to all of this needs funding. Solving it requires money. So if we say that the economy for sustainability reasons need to shrink, that is effectively a decision not to invest in the solution to these pretty pressing issues. Now, on the other hand, money in itself doesn't emit any carbon dioxide, does it? While materials and fossil energy does. So what we need is somehow to decouple economic growth from degrowth. What we need is material degrowth while maintaining economic growth enough to solve the bigger issues. And a friend of mine, Nils Bendik, he has proven that this is possible, the combination of material degrowth with economic growth. And here's the story. I have kids that play in a marching band, which is quite commonplace where I come from. And the only source of income for these marching bands are flea markets. And we do twice every year, run by us parents. And this is what pays for instruments, for teachers, for instruction, for everything you need to let the kids in this part of town learn to play an instrument and learn to make music together. And before the flea market last fall, Nils Bendik came back with this beauty that he bought from us 2-3 years earlier. That he had loved since, used, but now wanted to hand back. And the thing is, when you work at the flea market, this is a kind of item that you recognize. And I actually sold this one and got it back once earlier, before Nils Bendik got it. So there you go. Effectively, we sold this bicycle 3 times. And an old classic like this, in good condition, goes for 1,500 Norwegian kroner. So sold 3 times, that's 450 euro. So the economic impact on the marching band is substantial. I mean, the music teachers get paid, the instrument makers get paid, the kids learn how to play, and all while the material consumption is zero. So that's your economic growth with material degrowth in combination on a small scale. Proves it can work. This one is some of the coolest Norwegian design history has to offer. It's the Extreme chair by Terje Ekström, and it's, by my accounts, a truly iconic piece. Actually, I really want one of these for myself. Object of desire. And often you hear that this is the most important thing you can do as a manufacturer, isn't it? To do iconic products, stuff that will never be thrown away. And I suppose that is true. But the thing is, it's not enough. Because it's all and well that I crave for one of these, and that if I get one, I'll keep it to my dying day, that my kids will argue over it once I'm gone. But that quality in itself, that I would never part with it, when does that positively impact the environment? Well, not until the day comes 15 to 20 years from now, when I would otherwise have changed it for a new one. Now, do we have 15, 20 years to reduce our footprint? Well, ask the younger generation. We need to reduce climate emissions now. Greta will tell you that. 15, 20 years from now is too late. So what I need to do before making this dream come true for myself personally, I need to ask what is done to the production of these chairs to make it as sustainable and possible. And if it's proper, if it's good, I can ethically make a positive decision and get one of these. And if the answer is nothing, I better forget it, regardless of its iconic qualities, and I'd need to make do with the old siesta armchair I already have in my home. Now, I haven't asked the question, just to be precise about that. I don't know, it could be that they've been doing an excellent job with the production of this. This is just to serve as an example. Because the iconic status of a product like this doesn't solve it alone. This is part of the problem, and it's also part of the solution, but we don't need to explain how and why we did that last time. But from time to time, we all read in the papers or in some social media that it's no use sorting your plastic from your household waste because it all arrives at the same dump. Now, that, guys, is not true, because new high-tech sorting facilities are being opened all across Europe almost every week these days. Fantastic technology. And what we need to realize is that this needs to become the primary resource for the manufacturing industry. So no longer oil from the seabed to refine to plastic or mine bauxite to aluminium. This is our mine. It is possible. We do it. We need to be more companies doing it. And as private consumers, we need to sort our waste as we are instructed, not less, more. Now, to my knowledge, coral is one of the hardest colors to get right. Now, excuse me for the graphic language, but when you blend the pigments for this color, you'll find it goes from puke to perfect with one drop of pigment, and then back again to the color of vomit with the next. It's very, very tricky to get right. It's like walking the edge of a razor blade. Now, turquoise is much easier, but on the picture to the right, the backrest you see is made from two different plastic materials. And to get the two components to match perfectly, despite the different material qualities, is no trivial exercise either. And until quite recently, we would spend quite a lot of efforts to nail exactly this. Precise colors, high gloss, perfectly even matte as an alternative, control and precision in the surface layer. I mean, that is an aesthetic ideal, right? We were taught this in design school or elsewhere. Keep it tight, controlled, precise. But if your raw material is what we had on the previous page, we can't do this, can we? Because when your raw material has variation like waste does, you can't possibly control things on this level. If you want this level of control, you will need virgin material. And that, we know, is not sustainable. So for the future, sorry, no more coral or other tricky colors other than on fabrics, no more perfect color matches, no more silky matte surfaces. We have to stop this. We have to do differently, and you guys need to do too. So if waste is your resource, if new products can't just be beautiful and lasting, but also need to be produced in a fashion that cleans the planet more than it pollutes it. This is what we have to do. We have to embrace imperfection. So degrowth means that within design and architecture, we need to develop our aesthetic. That's the consequence. Or rather, there are some forms of aesthetics that we can no longer pursue, ref previous page, ideals that we need to leave behind. So we need to celebrate variation, age, signs of lived life, defects, and deviation. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is Effect Soundsticks. It's one of our most recent acoustic products. It's rather versatile. It's highly efficient. It just won a Green Good Design Award for its functionality and sustainability. But that's not the point. Some of you will recognize the color scale on this one from this exhibition, where we played on the scale used by Ed Hawkins to visualize how the temperature of the atmosphere has developed since 1900. But that's not the point either. The point is that the core of the idea behind Soundsticks is that when you cut fabrics for furniture upholstery, you cut the different panels and you cut them from a roll. And because of the size and the shape of the panels, there was always a part left at the end, which is very, very hard to use. Normally, this part is around 20 to 30 centimeters, and it's normally waste, until Andrea Ruggiero, the designer, came up with the idea for this product. So in Tibro, in Sweden, where we produce the Effect products, we keep all the leftovers and sort them in in 4 color groups, like you see on the picture here. So if you go for a set of green Soundsticks, well, you can order those. You will get green ones, but that we can promise. But we cannot promise which green, only that whatever you will get will be a mix out of the ones in the tray. So a very highly efficient acoustically product. It's very versatile. It's made from 100% waste. And if you go for green, it will be a mix, like the colors of a Nordic forest in summer. Nice, we think, and hope lots more will agree. Or this one, which is a new interpretation of a classic by Snøhetta for colleagues of ours. It's made from old ropes, actually, and it's the manufacturer NCP who did this with Snøhetta. And instead of hiding it behind dark pigmentation, they reveal the variation in all its beauty. I think this is really nice too. And going forward, these 2 examples, the Soundsticks and this chair by Snøhetta and NCP, exemplify an aesthetic that must not be the exception in interior design or architecture. This aesthetic must become the new normal. Now, addressing climate change and the waste problem is urgent. We all see that. And to get things done takes all we've got. So it takes strong, cold analytics to make sure we address what matters the most. And then we need to appeal to the other side of the brains to prove that the powerful changes can be really, really beautiful. That this can produce environments that are good for people and that create a better future. Now that combination of the rational and the emotional is what this guy did back in 1963. What he did not say is, I have a plan, did he? He did not say, I have a plan. He said, I have a dream. And in doing so, he managed to connect the rational grounds for the civil rights movement with the most emotional soft spot in all of us, the future of our kids. So on a smaller scale, but nonetheless, this is what we have to do. We must learn that waste is the dominant resource of the future, and we need to celebrate aesthetically that this is so. So degrowth is possible and even desirable. It doesn't even have to cost us very much, but it requires a new aesthetic in design and architecture, one that celebrates variation, age, deviations, signs of lived life, all of that. And who knows, maybe in the future, this is the aesthetic quality interiors and fashion and products will need to feature for us actually to feel comfortable, to feel that this environment, the objects that we surround ourselves with, is what makes this future-proof. So this we need to develop together. We need to develop it in fashion, we need to develop it in architecture, in design, in industry, and we need to build it as a preference on an individual level. So that's all, folks. That was brief. I hope you found this useful and maybe even inspiring. But my highest wish this time, as it was last time, is that you join us on this mission. We'll keep the chat open for questions a little longer, so feel free to reach out. And thank you all for your attention. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you next time.